separate things.
The which thing?
I mean, the writing about the essay is not, we are not going to post it on discussion board, right?
No, the discussion board only this week only has those other 3 things that you're doing.
And I'm saying like there is a specific place that we can submit this assignment, like before, like.
There is it's not right. It's a separate assignment. But actually, hold on. Are we doing it? Let me make sure. Look at the schedule. Right, you're right. You're actually going to have to post it in 2 places because then we're going to do the peer review. But that's next week. Okay, so in the week 5 module, this is the full draft of the argument research essay. So basically that needs to be submitted by 11:59 on Sunday. And then at the beginning of next week, basically I'll have set up a bunch of like groups where people will exchange their essays and read them and give feedback on them and stuff. But for this week, all we're worried about is writing and submitting this draft. And this is obviously the draft that you submit by Sunday is also the one that I will read and make comments on and give, suggestions and all of that. Let's see what else. And I can post this too, about conclusions, because I know a lot of people aren't really worried about conclusions quite yet. But there's a few ideas where you sort of want to make sure you do a few things. You're sort of summarizing, so you can think about the closing arguments of a lawyer again. You're trying to summarize the case that you just made, which means you're going to restate what your thesis statement is in a certain way. And then you're trying to leave a final impression, right? So that the people remember what your argument was. And like, you don't bring in new evidence, right? You don't really quote anybody. I mean, you could, I suppose, but it's really just sort of this summarizing of what you've just said and trying to leave the reader with an impression. One way to do that, one of the techniques that I try to teach is the one about connecting back to the very beginning of your essay. So in your introduction, right, your first 2 sentences are trying to make people interested, right? That's what the hook is. I talked about the hook at some point, right? So someone's using a quotation or asking a question or whatever. So whatever you choose to do as the hook, if you could bring that back in the conclusion, right? Like if you asked the question at the very beginning, you could ask that question again and then maybe answer it, right? If you quoted somebody, you could bring that person back in at the end, right? So you quote somebody to help introduce your subject, and then you could bring that person in and maybe quoted something else that they said that will help summarize it. So that's my only main hint, is that you want some sort of connection back to the introduction, because then that sort of makes the essay more whole, like more complete. So that's the most important part. So the conclusion is your final argument, you're summarizing your case, presenting your thesis, making it clear that you've given evidence, and then sort of in the meanwhile, connecting a little bit to the introduction somehow, if that will help.
So basically our draft should have like, it's kind of looks like our final draft. It has conclusion as well.
Yes, yeah. So they do it differently than I've done it before, but yeah, they sort of want you to have a complete, full rough draft. And in fact, I think they use like the same rubric basically, right? So for the rough draft, you'll turn that in, and then I'll go through, and classmates will go through and point out where you need to fix things, and then you're going to fix and revise it for the final draft eventually.
Mhm.
Oh, and I have this conclusion thing. I'll put this in the discussion board. It just gives an example of 3 different conclusions, one that's bad, one that's okay, and one that's good. So you could look at those and decide. I mean, it's pretty obvious which one's better, but it tries to show you just the differences between the 2 or the 3. So I can post that in the discussion board. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have more questions? I think that I'm gonna sort of stop it there. So you know that there is an outline that you can use to help you write this draft. The big deal is you're trying to make sure you have 3 separate ideas that are all obviously related to the main idea. And then you're just developing them using, you have 5 scholarly sources at least, and then after you have 5, then you can also look for other types of sources if you want, right? So you can get regular magazines or whatever that might help you. One of the things I was telling Brenda also about hers, one of the ways to really strengthen your essay is to find real life examples of things, right? And that's, sometimes you can do that in scholarly research, like there'll be a case study of a person or something, but often it's easier to find actual stories like that in the regular news media. So if you're trying to look at, somebody suffering from mental health from a low income area, like something bad happened, like their mental illness went untreated, and you tell that little story, then that helps, make your case stronger. And you can do that in different places of your essay. And the same thing for like pregnant teenagers, right? If you can find stories about what has happened to people, and bad things that have happened will help you sort of prove that there's a problem and so on. So keep your eye open for those types of things. I mean, just look, newspapers, magazines. You can even just search on Google, like, story about a poor pregnant woman or something. And you want to still have, it wants to be a magazine, that or a credible news or magazine like website. So it just has to be credible. You don't want to take something from someone you don't even know who posted it, from some blog somewhere. It has to have some like real credibility behind it. But if you already have your 5 scholarly sources, then I say one of the ways to find those real life examples that you can use is to find them in regular media world, newspapers, magazines, things like that.
So in our full, basically rough draft, should we use all 5 scholarly sources that we used before?
The goal is to try to use, yes, all of them. Sometimes that's difficult, but you want to use as many as you possibly can.
Okay.
The more you use, the better your paper is. So, and I mean, using 5, like I said, it's possible.
Because like at least 2 of them, it was like opposing point, so I can put that in my essay as well.
The counter argument, right? That's
Right.
one of the things, and that's I put that on this outline. I just put it at the very bottom. Just it can really go anywhere. Like I could do my whole paragraph about my first supporting argument, and then I could right away talk about what the other side thinks and why they're wrong. And then I could do that over, sort of one, then the other, one, then the other. Sometimes people have done them all at the end. It's sort of up to you. Can put them wherever you want. You just want them to be the most effective.
در سر کلاسم بهتون زنگ میزنم. Okay, good. Sounds good.
Okay. Any questions, Brenda? You good? Everybody?
I have a question about like when you were like looking over my drafts.
Yep.
I just have a question about like the second page. I don't know if you can like look it up, but the second page it says like it's in red and it says make sure the reader knows what this is. Like, are you just telling me that or do you like want me to add more stuff to it?
Oh, no. I'm sorry. Okay, so very specifically, there's an acronym there called DCI something.
Oh, gotcha. It's like, oh, okay, that's what you're referring
Yeah,
to.
that's what I meant. Yeah, I was
Okay.
referring to that because I didn't quite get it because I certainly didn't know what it was. So that's just want to make sure
Okay,
that
it was
they
just
know.
on two different pages, and I wasn't sure if you were talking about my thesis statement because it was like on my thesis statement, and then
Oh, no,
it went.
no. Yeah, oh, because
Okay,
I had room to write probably. But yeah, no,
that's
that's all I was
okay.
referring to.
All right, and then the next, like the next part, there's like brackets, like red brackets around like.
Yes, so that was my attempt to be like examples. And then I wrote example in green or something, but like so those are like places where I was just thinking like if you had a real life example of some sort would be great.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, you have it well organized so that you could pretty much do it anywhere. I would say try to find, sources or stories of real life examples of things, and then just decide what they best demonstrate and put them in. You don't need one for every single thing, I don't think, but you could, if you put in two or three real life examples, um, that would help support. You know what I'm saying about that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and you said that like just to get it from like media,
Right, like
like.
a magazine or magazine or a news story about something happening to someone. Yours is the mental health one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I
Yep.
mean, there's stories of like back when it's still happening, but when the police shoot people, they've shot people who have mental illness, right? So like
Yeah.
if you found that story and were like, Larry was a 23-year-old man with mental health issues and he lived in a poor area and the cops came and shot him because they're idiots or whatever. But like um that helps to prove your point or show or illustrate your point that there's a problem with mental health in poor areas not being addressed. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So that's what the
Um,
brackets were. The brackets were me sort of just being like, oh, you could use an example to show this thing or this thing. And I only put a few, I think, but
yeah. Okay. Um, yeah, I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
And another thing, is there like anything else that I should like add? Like,
No,
I
that's what
don't
I
know.
was thinking. Now, the thing for yours so far, really, it's finding real life examples and sort of putting them in. And then I think you're pretty much set because your argument, like your essay, is organized and pretty well developed.
Okay. All right. And the counter arguments is that like I added two of them. I don't know if you could tell like which one it was.
Right. I'll check. Well, this is the other stuff I'm going to be looking at also for the for the real like the rough draft, right? To be going over that to see if they are there.
Hmm.
I don't know if I think I was mostly interested in. I might have said something if I didn't see any of them. So I
Like
think I must have.
I put in like transitions, like
Yeah.
transition in like the beginning of the
Oh no,
paragraph.
it's there. Yeah. No, I think you might be in good shape with that. I just remember that, and because so that literally my only thing that's specific example, like because the rest of it was super solid. But if I'm wrong, if I forgot something or whatever, I'm gonna have a chance to give you more feedback again.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, that's everything, I guess. Thank you.
You're doing good. So
Okay.
hmm.
One more question, just want to
Yeah,
clarify regarding the discussion board.
yep.
Just want to make sure that I understand everything. So first, I need to find out the article from the book and copy and paste it, and then find one of the like count contradiction. I mean things about that article.
Yes, that's one thing you could do because you could do any technique you want. So I just use that as an example. So
Right.
if you wanted to do that, that's fine. So you would need to find and copy and paste a place where they use the counter argument well.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
you said
one of the
copy and paste
technique is
it.
contradiction. You said the other one is we can use is what?
Another idea of a technique is the comparison. When a writer
Comparison.
compares a situation to something that's, well, it's an analogy really, but whatever, compares the situation to something else to help make their point clearer, that's also a technique.
Okay.
So that's
And
all they mean by techniques. They just mean like things that these writers are doing that seem to help their arguments. And you're picking one, copying and pasting where you find it, and then explaining it, and then talking about how you're going to use it in your own writing.
yeah, and then on the third part, I'm gonna say like how I'm gonna use it regarding my topic, like
Exactly.
basically the pregnant
Switch to
women.
your topic in your essay, and you say, here's how I'm going to use it. I'm going to say this, and then bring that. Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Professor.
Are
Have
we
a
good?
great rest of your day.
Okay. You too. Take
Thank you.
care.
Bye-bye.